situations, he was about as cool as you can see. A lot of times I just look at players and that look in his eye and all our guys, and they executed the plan, took control of the situation, and then when he needed to deliver one, we got the look we wanted. He did, and Drake came down with it and essentially ended the game, and then Koo comes out and, he managed the situation, and we got the most clutch kicker in the league, and we go home with a win.
Welcome back, Falcons fans. Your boy Bryce Lewis back at it again for more Atlanta Falcons content. For this recap episode, I have a special guest with me, Noah Tindell, with us from the Atlanta Falcons Network, AFN, if you've heard of them. Welcome into the show, sir. How are you today?
Doing pretty good. Like I said, I just got back from doing another show yesterday. Had another show the day before, so I'm kind of on a streak right now, which is really unusual for me. But how are you?
Yes, sir. I'm good, man. Just feeling better, man, after getting that win yesterday, for sure, though. Especially after the last 2 weeks previously. It's good to go into a Monday now and kind of be, all right, we got something to be happy about, something to be excited about. So
resets the week a little bit in your head.
You kind of go through, that reset, and it's like, all right, now we can look more positively at what's coming up, and everybody has better vibes throughout the week. So yeah, you're right. It does reset the week for the most part. But let's go ahead and dive right into it, Noah, man. I want to get your thoughts on the game from yesterday. We beat the Houston Texans 21-19 in a game where it was a lot of things happened. We had Desmond Ridder have his best game as a pro, best game a Falcons quarterback has had in 2 years. We've had defense continuing to play well. We had some turnovers that cost us some points, probably made the game closer than it should have been. And I think overall there was a lot of positive takeaways coming out of the game. So I just want to get that first question out to you, man. What was your biggest takeaway from the Falcons win over the Houston Texans?
I think my takeaway before the game was, because I said this on Saturday, for defense, they had a sense of unity, but for the offense, whenever I heard anyone talk, they always had a sense of individuality. Like they all wanted to fix their own problems on their own, which didn't seem like a good formula to me. So I wanted them to feel as if everyone was on the same page the entire way. And that's exactly what I saw, right? So when I see that, yeah, we didn't have like the best kind of ground game that we wanted to have, but we still had like 90 yards rushing, which is really good for us. Like I said, we distributed the ball really well. We had 10 different receivers that all caught a pass. I think one of my favorites was Keith Smith, and Desmond Ridder said that in his press conference afterwards too, that just 28-yarder. It was a bit of a sloppy play, but we got it there, so that was pretty good. Everyone made a good play. We got Kyle Pitts involved. We got Drake London involved, especially late in those games. So I really like how we were. I really like how we were on the third downs for the second half. We were almost perfect the entire way. So again, a lot of things to clean up, right? We still had some turnovers, still had some penalties that kind of like gave us a few points away, but overall I like the sense of togetherness. And when you have that mixed with a coach that wants to try to get everyone involved, you end up with a result like today.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that. I mean, especially after last week, we all have seen the video of Mac Hollins on the sideline, and people were wondering, does that mean there cracks in the offense now, especially? And like you said, a sense of unity. Defensively, everybody was pretty much on the same page. They knew what their job is. You can see the connectiveness, but offensively, that's where the questions were. And I'm glad that coming off of that, I've always said, London has been a weird game for NFL teams for years. You'll go to London, you'll either bounce back from something, or you're going to go further into the gutter. And it seemed like after the London game, we're going to go further into the gutter. It looked like, whoa, have we hit, even though it's only game 4 at that point, rock bottom? And for us to come back and bounce back from that is really big to me. Overall, I think, like you said, we were able to do different things well, but there's still things to clean up. One of the big things, like I said, defensively, I believe they only allowed Houston 4 conversions on third down out of 13 attempts for them,
yeah,
which
4
is
for 13.
Which is a really good number. That shows, Falcons defense, I'm sure you've watched the Falcons defense for years. You know how bad on third down we've been in years previously. So overall, it's just great to see, that type of play from them. But, now we got to get into the guy who has been the most scrutinized guy for this entire squad this entire year. The biggest question mark people have had, Desmond Ridder. I don't know where you maybe have standed on him from last year to this year and where you are now with him. But overall, give your assessment of Desmond. You know, do you feel better? Do you feel like this could be him moving forward, or do you feel like this maybe could just be a one-off game for him?
So when I thought about having Desmond Ridder for us as a starter, I mean, this was an idea that went back to last year, right? Me and someone else had a 3-hour discussion about like what should we do between Mariota and Desmond Ridder, right? Because it was at the moment where Mariota just wasn't doing anything for us, right? We were losing by like 3 points here and there, had like 13 points here late in the season, and our defense was doing perfectly, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, at what point do you try to give up on the bridge quarterback idea and just start your rookie? I think after the bye week was the perfect time for him to enter, right? There wasn't a whole lot of expectations. Yes, it was a divisional game. Yes, it was in New Orleans. And yes, we still almost won that game if it wasn't for a Drake London fumble. But just to have that sample size there, going into the season that we are in right now, that helped us get a lot better, and it helped us figure out what we wanted to do in the future, right? We had the idea of like having more mobility at quarterback, and you saw that a little bit more today, but in those past couple of weeks, you weren't really seeing that. It almost as if he was trying to be like stuck in the pocket, trying to make his passing plays work. And I was like, that's not him. I don't understand why we're trying to do that for him, because he always had the threat of mobility. So use that, which is what we did, just either on a 3rd and short, right? Or in the goal line. And what we just said about him and Matt Collins was his leading blocker. And who did he block? Jimmy Ward. So it all comes around full circle, whether they knew about it or not. But yeah, I've always had the confidence in Desmond Ridder to be the guy, because when we drafted him, he was a 3rd-round pick, and at the time I was like, all right, well, why are we justifying him drafting him in the 3rd? I was like, well, I looked around at the other teams in the league. Most of these other teams already had a quarterback set, or they just wanted to give them one last year, so drafting a quarterback was too early. We were in a different position, and we could have waited. So we could have had like a 1st-round quarterback go to the 3rd round for us, which is exactly what I wanted, right? A value for the position. And if it didn't work out, fine, whatever. And this is why Desmond Ridder feels so expendable for everyone else. But for me, I was like, dude, let's make this work. Because if we can do this on a cheap deal when all these other rookie contracts are coming in, we allows us to sign veterans on the defense. That allows us to build confidence and build our youth, and develop them all together. Like, Kyle Pitts just turned 23. Like, and I just turned 24 right alongside him. So it's like, dude, we're all incredibly young. We're all going to be there for a while. And I just love that. So I don't want to give up on the idea of like having all the traits that he provides. And what you saw with that game, you saw his poise. You saw just how confident they all were, especially at that last drive. It's like, dude, he was just handing out all the signals. It's like he was in charge of everything, which is what he needed to be, right? Which is what you want any quarterback to be. And I just got to just hats off to him, like, because that is not an easy thing to do, right? It may look like that when we're on the couch and we're all watching from the sidelines and that overhead view, or if we're playing Madden, we're doing all this other stuff. We have all these different perspectives, but like to be there in that moment and to control it, I don't care what kind of defense they have. You just have to do your part, right? And that's what was being preached about. So yeah, overall, fantastic job. I want to see more of it. I've always had the confidence in him. It was just a matter of time with like, when is it going to show up? And I think it can show up now.
Yeah, I mean, I think too, for me with Desmond, I've always kind of been a guy who I just want him to get a fair opportunity. You know, especially in today's league, you know, a lot of people feel like, oh, you got to throw for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns on the first start, or else I'm questioning if you could be a quarterback in this league. And I feel like that's an unfair assessment. Certain guys can do that, but certain guys need that time to grow and develop and go through growing pains. And I feel like Desmond's one of those guys. There's nothing wrong with that. I think sometimes, too, the issue is that when you have a team that you feel like is kind of win now, and then you have the young developing quarterback. It's like, well, he could affect us winning now, and then that makes me unhappy because I want the team to win now, right? But I think with Arthur, he probably felt like he established or put the roster in place that could still be successful with a growing quarterback. That's why they have, the running game. You have a defense now who clearly is not going to lose you games. And with that, all you need him to do is just not make mistakes, and then you'll have a chance most games to be able to come out of it. So I think Desmond really just did a good job yesterday of managing the game. He did a good job of taking what the defense gave him. I think that's something he wanted to work on, something he wanted to improve, and I think he did that yesterday. And as the game went on, you saw him get better. And that's been the theme with Desmond since last year. Second halves are when he plays his best. He starts slow, and I know we want him to start a little bit faster, but second halves is when he usually plays better football. He just gets settled into the game. He sees the defense. He knows what's going on. And I believe he only had 1 or 2 incompletions in the second half last week and a touchdown. And he had like a 118 quarterback rating, I believe, just in the second half. So,
because I remember that one overthrow on a 3rd and 5 that led to that. I was getting the 18th point.
Yeah, exactly.
I think one of them might have been a drop.
I think so. I had it pulled up that they
can't count the fumble as an incompletion.
You'll be surprised. I think overall. Oh, I have it. Yeah, he was 18 of 21 in the second half. 18 of 21, 201 yards, 1 touchdown, a 123 passer rating. So if you're getting that from your quarterback in the second half, I mean, are we really going to be upset about that?
I mean, I went back to the Thursday night game where Chicago and Washington, and Justin Fields was 15 of 29 the entire game. I was like, dude, that was almost like one half of football for Desmond. And 10 of those 15 targets went to DJ Moore.
Yeah, because he had a big game.
But that's the guy that everyone wants over here, instead of like trusting in the guy that's willing to distribute the ball everywhere else to make everyone a threat.
Yeah, definitely. And we have weapons, as you can tell. I mean, we have, Smith. Pitts had a big game for the first time this year in this game. Drake London, obviously, first half didn't do anything. Obviously, wasn't able to get anything going. But second half, they got the ball to him. He made plays. 2 big catches on the last drives we also had in the game as well. And obviously, offensive line, got to give a shout out to them. 0 sacks. First time all season. I mean, pass protection has been an issue all year. And so getting 0 sacks was big for Desmond.
Yeah, big shout out to Storm Norton.
Yes, sir. Storm Norton.
And he was a late pickup in the season. So thanks again, Terry Fontenot, for always providing for us whenever we need it.
Was he the one who we picked up from the Saints? Was he the guy?
He was either from the Aints or the Chargers. I can't remember.
I want to say it was the Saints, but I could be wrong. But I mean, he was a starter.
Either way.
But I mean, it's funny. They said they made a joke. They said it's funny that after the game they have an offensive lineman picture with no Caleb McGarry.
Storm was just on the ball.
Exactly. I said everybody's like, Caleb McGarry gone. Yeah, man. But I mean, that was just big, man. Because like I said, pass protection's been an issue, and that has also affected Desmond. Because I can tell when he was under pressure, his clock got sped up, and now he's like, got to get it out as quickly as possible. And that led to him making the mistakes where now he knew I could sit back in the pocket comfortable and read a defense. And a lot of the time he was making quick decisions just so in that way the pass rusher couldn't get to him. But like I said, he was able to be more mobile. I remember he had a bootleg. It was a really good play. He had a bootleg out. I think first guy was covered, so he was able to find the second guy.
Mike Hole or to
John? I want to say yes. But it's just something where I feel like that was a really good just explanation of what you said. Him using his legs, using his mobility. I think that sometimes can lead to him being more comfortable because, like I said, he ran 4.5. Like it's not like Desmond Ridder's like a slow quarterback. He ran 4.5.
He's just got a long stride. I understand the quickness isn't really there, but dude, he's got straight line speed.
Exactly. I need that Desmond Ridder 70-yard run in my blood. But yeah, man. So let me ask you this, man. So let's talk about the defense. We talked about the offense. Let's talk about the defense, man. Like, obviously, we know the biggest thing is still pass rush. Is still the biggest issue with this team. But with that, the secondary still has played great. Bates, probably best safety in the game. AJ looks like he's returned to form. Okuda has been really good the games he's came back in. D. Alford, he had one of his best games yesterday. Goodness. I mean, just talk about, that secondary, man. Just, people are trying to figure out what they're going to call the secondary, man. But what are your thoughts on those guys, man?
Even Richie Grant, which I think he's gotten a little bit more flack in the past couple of weeks. But the only person that I'm like, was maybe Trey Flowers, and that was on like 2 plays from the last couple of weeks. Other than that, like, if that is your biggest weakness, is having a Trey Flowers just as like your 5th or 6th corner, like, dude, your secondary is loaded, right? Like, we're still putting in some packages for Jalen Hawkins. We're still putting in packages. Like, I think we're starting to see some rotations for DeMarco Helms. So we have so many more people on the back end that we're just waiting to unveil slowly. And yeah, I love that, man. We extended Cornell Armstrong. Where has he been?
I'm dead.
That's just kind of like how tough it is to make it on this secondary, because like he was someone that we brought in. Remember, I want to say like during the preseason we gave a practice or like a workout to Malcolm Butler.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And that didn't really go anywhere. So yeah, not to say that he's not he's not good or anything, but it just goes to show how tough and how strong the secondary is. So that, yeah, maybe the pass rush ain't always there to finish the job and sacking the quarterback. But when they work hand in hand together, when you have like all these pressures, like I think we're still like top 10 in pass rush win rate. We're still top 5, and when it comes to total pressures, we're up there with quarterback hits. We're up there with like hurries, knockdowns, like whatever you want to call it. We're just not finishing with the sack, and that's why everyone else like, oh well, we still can't get to the quarterback. We still can't sack the quarterback. No. We just have to affect the play, right? We just have to get him out of a rhythm and just make him question who is he going to throw to, or if he's going to throw to anybody at all. And that's what you've seen. That's the result of all those third downs like not being a thing, because those pass rushers were getting them. And not only that, but when they try to like go forward on a 3rd and 1 on a rushing play, we've seen how powerful Dameon Pierce can be, but it didn't matter to a guy like a Bud Dupree. It didn't matter to a guy like D. Alford that came in from the nickel and just like shot through the gap, right? We've seen a number of these plays where a guy will come from like way back in the secondary, like Jesse Bates, make the play behind the line of scrimmage. I'm like, that's what we've been missing. Like, they all play together. It doesn't matter whether you're on the defensive line or if you're in the secondary, like, you're going to affect this pass. And another person, shout out to Nate Landman.
Yes, sir.
He almost got the first pick for CJ Stroud on that tip. But yeah, he's been stepping up, and he was another guy. It was like practice squad, late round draft pick, like didn't really pay any attention to him. Just like, hey, we just need someone to be here at linebacker for us. So it's like, all right, I'll step up last year. I'll play against the Rams and Seahawks and whatever. And he did well. And different defensive coordinator, different scheme, different people to play around, different people to communicate with. Doesn't matter. Steps in, does the same thing. So yeah, big shout out to him, because he keeps everyone else lined up, right? You have him, you have Jesse Bates with the green dot on his helmet. That's just like always there to communicate with each other, making sure that everyone's on the same page. Occasionally we'll get a few plays that like goes their way, but hey, that's the NFL. It happens to every single team, right? Even Jesse Bates just like bit off a double move, and that's what caused that touchdown. It happens.
Yep.
Right. So we can't expect them to be like always perfect every single game. But what we have seen is that, like, we used to call it a bend but don't break. We're barely even bending. So again, I just love what Ron Nielsen's been doing. He wanted to have the mentality of just attack, and that's what I've seen throughout this entire season. I just want him to stay, because I'm tired of having a great defensive coordinator, and then like 2 years later they leave.
Yeah.
So please just stay with us.
Yeah, I get it, man. But especially a defense like ours, if he makes our defense elite, man, people are gonna be making those calls for him, man. And I know when he initially was hired, a lot of people were kind of iffy about it. They didn't know how to feel because you had guys like Brian Flores out there and other guys, Evangio, guys that you could have gotten that are more, maybe a more established, accomplished defensive guys. And given the guy like Ryan Nielsen, who's never called a defense, it's like, oh, how do we know he's going to be good at his job? But I mean, that ends up to work out the best for this team. He's connected with the players. Like you said, that sense of unity within that unit. Everybody plays hard. Everybody, I think, has grown through his off-season training with the defense and what he wants to do with the schemes and all the things that he wants to try to implement. And I think that's been big overall for the defense in general. I think, like you said,
him and Jared Gray, by the way.
Oh, yes, exactly. He was a big pickup for the secondary, and that's why the secondary has been able to take that next step as well. So overall, I think, it's just, like I said, really good to know that now you have a defense that won't put you in position to, like we know the Matt Ryan years, we basically had to score 30 a game to win, and that's hard to do in the league, man. And especially with this offense, we're not at that level where we can do that. So we need the defense to play like they've had. I've said the last couple of weeks, outside of a couple of busted coverages, the defense outside of those have pretty much played the teams we play pretty tight. Like, it hasn't been like they've just been blown off the field. And I think, you have that. Like you said, it happens. Everybody schemes up things and whatever. But as long as for the most part, they're not just getting completely ran over, you're feeling pretty good about the defense in general. And, like I said, that led to that victory against Houston because the turnovers, they had the ball at our side of the field to start drives. And the fact the defense was able to keep them to field goals, I think that ultimately is what really saved the game for us. It's just, and not let it get out of reach because they were able to basically not allow Houston just to have their way with them on their side.
Yeah, if you take those field goals and like maybe 3 of them goes in, we're probably looking like a 31-21 game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, jeez, we're going back to where we were. But the night before the game, I said on my stream, I was like, you know what? I'm pretty confident that 20 points wins this game. We gave up 19. I'm like, man, how much closer can you get here?
Yeah, I mean, you were right on it with that prediction, man. Like, and I think, some people were taken away offensively too. Like, oh, we only scored 21 points. But like I said, there was penalties. There was things that kept us from putting more points on the board. So overall, you got to take that as it is. And I said too, I tweeted this out. I was like, this game reminded me of, especially that first half, of Green Bay. Because Green Bay, we were moving the ball, but we couldn't finish drives. And I said, The Falcons have to finish drives if they're going to win this game. And then the third quarter, you saw the turnovers, and you're like, oh, good boy. This is how it's going to be. And then to come back like they did, and then be able to finish those possessions. And that ultimately is what gave us the win is, that's what worked. And also, second half as well, in the Green Bay game, defense stepped up. Because remember, it seemed like the defense was just letting Green Bay have their way. And then they stepped up 2, 3, 4 straight possessions of stopping them. Falcons made plays.
That fourth quarter was
and happened again.
Immaculate.
Exactly. So, and then this game, Houston, they basically shut you down, and then the offense eventually was able to get some points on the board. And I think that's great situational play. The Falcons haven't been great situational the last couple of years. So situationally, I feel like they've shown improvement in that area. You agree?
Yeah, I think that going back to Desmond, because one of the ways in which you can easily grade a quarterback is how are they in 2-minute situations, how are they in the fourth quarter, and how are they on third downs, right? That's what separates the good quarterbacks from the great ones. And like we just talked about, like we were almost perfect on third downs in the second half of the game. Our 2-minute drill, right? In that Green Bay game, had that one last score to get this back in there. Almost tied it, and then at the end of the play, like boom, just boom, 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 boom. That one last deep shot to Drake London was like, oh my goodness, that was a thing of beauty. And that's what sealed it, just having that confidence, because you guys practice that every single week. And to have it come to fruition like week in, and I wouldn't say week in, week out just yet, but I think we can start seeing that trend of success lean in our direction. The one question that I would actually have for both of us is, where is is there sort of a disconnect between like where we are at home and where we are away?
I think, obviously you can talk about Desmond's undefeated record at home in college and NFL and everything. I mean, the thing about the two games, I mean, the London game is like, even though it was a de facto, it's like, it's still a road game. But I mean, if you think about it, again, defensively, we played around the same that we've usually played. But offensively, that was where the struggle came. So after this Commanders game coming up, we play Tampa in Tampa. And I think that'll be a good test to see where we are with that, I think. To see if, like, really this is a road home game or play thing or just different, man. Like, it just kind of depends. Like, what about you?
I do think that a lot of our players will have, like, they will agree that the energy has to be there within the fan base, because it's really hard for a young team to pull through, just like go to an away team where like no one's going to root for you and like you still got to show up, right? I think back to like the first year of COVID where it was like nobody in the crowds, even the best of the best players, right? Like if Chiefs were going on and Travis Kelce got a big reception, he would normally do his thing, but for him to like go up, do his own little celebration and have no one cheer for him, it does something to your mind a little bit. All right, so to go to an away crowd where you're not going to hear that, or you're going to hear some boos, or kind of going through the whole like negative process, especially when you have to travel over there too, it's unfamiliar territory to a lot of these young players. But one of these times it's going to like, all right, we have the same routine, we just have to go to a different place and then perfect it there, because like I said, like we're pretty much perfect at home, and we've been that way last year too. Like our last calendar loss was just last week, and then before then we got to go I want to say maybe week 1 last year for a loss in the dome.
Well,
or did we have another one before that?
I want to say we had another one before that.
Oh, no. Steelers
okay,
was... Yeah, because they travel well. But
yeah, that's just true.
Yeah, I just think that we have the pieces that are there to travel to anywhere and then defeat them. But another thing to keep in mind is who we played. Right? Like we faced Jacksonville in London, where they were already kind of there a few days before we got there. And then they had to stay there and then let Buffalo come to them. And then you saw how that game played out weirdly. Right? And then we go to Detroit. Over there, we held them to 20 points. And we thought that's like, man, we didn't have all that great of a showing on defense. Oh, really? Because yesterday they had 42 points against Carolina. And they were supposed to be predicted to be like a slightly better defense than us. So I think you can feel a little bit easier. I'm not saying it's like, oh, we'll just kind of wash them away, but it's like those were kind of games where, yeah, they were legit coin flips of like the outcome. And it's respectable because they're both playoff teams, or at least playoff hopeful teams. So yeah, we fought them. We just didn't have a whole lot of things to show for it on offense. But now we're starting to get to it, all right? Because now we have that sense of stability that we can move into the next season with and have back-to-back home games again. It's like, all right, cool. That's going to help us tremendously as we carry on to the season where we're going to eventually have more away games than home games to rely on.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, if we could continue to play well at home, but like I said, get that momentum on the road, I think that would be big for this team, and obviously their playoff aspirations that they do have for this season as well. But no, I think that's a good point for us there. Before I let everyone go, let everybody know where to find you, man. Let everybody know what's up with you, projects, anything that you want to talk about.
Oh man, well, this was the biggest project that I was going to try to advertise to everyone else, and I kind of did that. So other than that, you will find me Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, Saturday nights, depending on where you are, because I'm a West Coast. I'm in California, so our time zones have to be a little bit skewed. So yeah, I normally do my streams around like 5:30 Pacific time, which will be 8:30 Eastern. And then from there, we'll chop it up for about an hour, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours if we get, carried away. And yeah, you can either find that on AFN or maybe some Georgia Sports Nation, or just on my own channel too. It's right there. My name's just Noah Tindell. You can look at that too, and I'll have them available on both streams. So just be careful, because eventually I will veer off into some more personal stuff with my personal channel. So if you just want the Falcons conversations, that'll be found AFN, and it should be easy to look up from there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Like I said, man, I appreciate you coming on, man, to the show, talking some Falcons with me. Always good to have you on. Love to have you back in the future if you're willing to come back on.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. And for anybody who wants to follow me, you can follow me on my Twitter at Bricey_2K, BRICEY_2K. You could also find my YouTube. If you're watching this probably on YouTube, go ahead, hit the subscribe, like the video.
Just stay here.
Exactly, basically, man. Go ahead, show love to you, show love to us, man, and we'll show love back, man. Like I said, great talking some Falcons ball. Looking forward to this next week against the Commanders, seeing if our Falcons can get back to 2 games over 500 at 4-2 against a team that has gotten us some issues the last couple of years in very close games. But like I said, let's see if Desmond Ridder and this entire team can build off this performance. I'm Bryce. That's Noah. We'll see you next time.
Got the dub, bruh. Let's go. Good win, baby. Back on track. Let's go. Dubs.
Yes, Sirski. Yes, Sirski.
Wait, but we taking every single one of these right here. Hey, with 8. Good dub.
Big dub.
Big dub.
Yeah. Took the top out of the movie, right? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good dubs.
I'm biting there.
Big dub.
Big dubs.
Coup equals points. Coup equals wins.
Let's go. Let's go.